Hi, this is Cheryl St.Pierre. In this video, we're going to make these fancy swirl statement earrings and necklace. And I'm demonstrating it with the beads that I make, but I just want you to know that you can use other beads too in the design. It's not just limited to the beads that I'm demonstrating with. So just letting you know, we got lots of beads to choose from. You can use ovals, the dangles you can do just like in design number 1. And well, there you go. So let's start creating. Okay, so for supplies, I'm using the heart beads that I made for this video, but I wanted to remind you, and I'm going to have this in the cover photo too, that you can use other beads. You can use little crystal hearts. You can use oval beads. You can use teardrop beads for your earrings. You can, and I mean, you can find all kinds of oval beads for your pendant as well. And you know, gemstone beads too come in a variety of shapes and sizes. So you're not just limited to the clay. So in the cover photo, I'm going to show the other beads as well, because I noticed with the video that I've only showed my clay beads, people were thinking that this, if they didn't do polymer clay, that the video wasn't for them. And so I'm gonna try and include other beads in the photos, whether it's a piece of jewelry or just the beads sitting there, just as a reminder that yes, you can do this, use this tutorial for not just polymer clay. Okay, so I've got my hearts. This one's 38 by, no, it's 36 by 39, and well, and the size doesn't really matter. This is a very forgiving pattern, and I believe these hearts are 14 by 16. And again, size, that's the same. It's a different size, and the design works. So don't worry about the size of the bead, just an approximation. Now for the drops, I'm using some clay leaves that I made, and plus other beads, and I'll show you as I go what I'm using, but I'm not expecting you to have it right now. I will offer these for sale. If they're not up for sale, I'll have the link for the Facebook group where I'm selling them, and just comment on one of the photographs, say I'm looking for the leaves from, and then do the title of the video. And I can either make some for you, or check for my stock, or whatever the case may be. Okay, so, and I really appreciate it if you buy beads from me, because that'll help support my channel and I can keep going. Okay, so you have to excuse me, the pollen's bothering my asthma a little bit today. Okay, so for wire, I wrote it down here so I have a metric. Okay, so this is 20 gauge wire. We need 2 11.5-inch pieces, which is 28.75 centimeters, and 20 gauge is 0.81 millimeters. And we need one piece which is 14.5 inches long, and that in centimeters is 36.25. Okay, and then for the drops, you could choose to use regular drops like in the version number 1 video, and the link will be in the description. Or you can make the drops like I'm going to be making, and you know, you're not just limited to the way I do it too. Even if you had my leaves, you can change it up. So these are just a couple of examples that I was playing around with. Okay, so for my drops, I'm going to have 2 different sizes of leaves. So we're going to need 3 of the larger ones and 6 of the smaller ones. for the drops, and I am using 6mm pearls. I got these from, oh, I'm not advertising for BB Craft, but I did get these from BB Craft. These are these are glass pearls, and I'm using the white, and then I am also using 3mm bicone crystals as accents. So we will need 2, 4, 6. Oh my goodness, 6 times 3 is 18, plus another 3 is 21. So 21 of these. So, you know, again, I'm not expecting you to have a 3mm bicones is a strange size. You could change it up the way you want. Use 4mm, use rondelles, use whatever makes you happy. Okay, and then for wrapping my leaves, I have to use 24 gauge wire. And if you're not using the leaves and you're using regular beads, you could use 20 gauge wire, just like you did in version number 1. So I would go back to version number 1 and get that instructions if you're not sure how to make the drops. But a lot of you will know how to make drops and don't need my help with that. Okay, so now that we've got the supplies, I believe we have all the supplies listed, besides earrings of choice and chain, and I think that's everything. So let's get started. I'll clean this up. Oh, it's not a mess in front of you because I put myself a little card of paper here to try and keep myself centered. See, it's hard to keep centered on a phone because the camera's on one end of the phone and your brain automatically wants to go to the center of the phone. This is the center of the phone, but it's not the center for the camera. So I'm hoping that this helps keep me in focus. I mean, in the center. Okay, so we're going to start with making the drops. So if you're not making drops with me, go ahead and pass by this, but it'll be quick because I'm only going to do 2 because I'm going to make them all the same, and it's just using up all the beads, whether it's big or small. And so I'm just going to have the length of the leaf being the difference this time. Next time I might not. Okay, so I'm just getting everything out. Get myself prepped. Okay. Here's all my leaves. I think it's all my leaves. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yes, there should be 9. Okay, so you need your round nose pliers. And I keep thinking that you're seeing that, but you're not. See, I'm using these leaves. Okay, so the round nose pliers, we're going to need to make this leaf have free flowing. We're going to make that loop that's going to hold it nice and big. So I'm probably just about at, give yourself 1.5 inches to 2 inches length to work with. And you're going to make a loop almost as big as your pliers will go. Everybody's pliers are different, so fairly big. And you can practice and, you know, figure out for yourself what is good. And I just want you to make that loop, then take your pliers out. Okay, and now I want you to take, there's the hole right there, and I want the front of the bead going onto the short end here, and we're just going to push it on into that loop like that. And you see it can move really nice and free. See, my brain just automatically made me go to the left. Okay, and now I'm going to take my chain nose pliers, and we're going to, since this is 24 gauge wire, it is a lot weaker, and we can't make it as strong as 20 gauge, that's for sure. But doing that will help. I'm work hardening it by squeezing it. And now I'm going to hold the circle like this while I do 3 wraps. And I'm just going to push this around and the pliers in my way to make my wraps nice and neat. So we'll do, you know, the regular wrap things. We'll just, the checks is what I mean. We'll just cinch them up and make them neat, but we won't do any straightening yet because this wire is quite vulnerable because it is so thin. It's something new for me to do this, and it's just to work with polymer clay. You got to change things up, and with crystals I wouldn't use this wire, but polymer clay, polymer clay is light. It doesn't need the strength, and it just seems to work better with it. So you have to go with the flow. Okay, I'm just straightening this up a little bit more. Okay, and now I'm going to put on my 6mm pearl. And 2 3mm bicones. Okay, and now I usually say use your favorite spot to get 3 wraps. Well, this is a totally different wire than the 20 gauge. So wraps are totally different. And so you barely need to leave any room at all to get 3 wraps. So you'll have to just modify yourself. But what I want you to do, if you have more space than 3 wraps, I want you to use it. Do 4 wraps if you have to. Okay, so I'm bending it there, putting a small, no, this is going on the bottom of the earring, and it's going to have 2 wires going through it, and you want movement space. So we're going to make a fairly large loop, about halfway up your pliers, I'd say. And then make your wrapped loop. And these ones are all face forward, and we want to close them in advance because we're going to slide it on. That's why we're making the drops first, is because it's way more easier. It's way easier. Man. Wake up, Cheryl. Okay, it's way easier to slide them on than to wrap them on a pre-made earring. Now, if you can see here, I've wrapped one too many because it's bulging out. I'm actually going to back that off and snip it off there. And I ended up with 3 wraps. I did pretty good. I'm amazed. Okay, and I'm snipping it off at the back. And now we can crimp in and do the checks just like normal on both ends. You never crimp in the bottom one without a bead there, because all you do is distort your wire and your wraps. So you're better off just waiting till the end to do it all. And then check to make sure everything's sitting straight. And this wire is so bendy that it can get crooked real easy. But the strength of the beads should help keep that straight, in theory. Okay, and so both loops, if you notice, are both facing this way. Okay, that one's done. So I'm not going to do another one in front of you. I want you to continue doing all your drops, and I'll see you in a minute. Okay, so I have them all done. So I just wanted to double check that everybody did their checks to make sure that their loops are facing the same right way. And if you were making loops from the other video, you'll have to make sure that they're going this way instead of that way. So if by chance they are going the wrong way, just hold on to your beads and give it a flip. And you can do it by sticking your round nose pliers in there and just twisting it around, or you know, you'll figure it out. Okay, so I'm going to set those aside, and now we'll make the earrings, and we have to make sure we have the right one. So I need the 11.5 piece of 20 gauge wire. And we're going to do the right wrap first, the normal wrap. So we want the flowers on the right hand side for that. So that's the bead we want. And we are going to grab our ruler. And, I have misplaced my ruler. I have to take a brand new one out of the package. Hang on. I'm back. And I don't know if you can hear it, but it just started pouring outside. So, okay, so we need to, for the earrings, we need to make a bend at 4.5 inches. And 4.5 inches is 11.25 centimeters. And I should have said that for the wire for the drops, 4.5 inches. That was 11.25 centimeters as well. Okay. So both the wire for the pendant and the wire for the earrings were bending at 4.5 inches. So 11.25 in centimeters. So that's good to know. And you should write that down because I'm not writing that in the description as to where you bend that. So if you need to keep notes, that's a good thing to write down right now. Okay, so now that we've got it, we are making a normal size loop for the earrings, which is your favorite loop to go on your ear wires. And we're doing the ordinary wrap, trying not to hit the phone. Yeah, it's hard to stay under the camera when you're doing stuff sometimes. Okay, and 3 wraps. 1, 2, 3. Wow, what a difference between this wire and the other wire. You get spoiled by the other wire because it's so easy. Okay, this one has so much more resistance. And my wraps look pretty neat. I really don't need to cinch them up or straighten them out. They turned out pretty perfect. Okay, so the next thing to make is the springboard loop, just like with the other 2 versions of this. By the way, I don't know if I mentioned it, and I might mention it at the beginning because I haven't done the beginning for this video yet. This is the springboard loop, but what was I going to say? Oh, silly me. I'll remember it later. So now we're going to put your bicone on, and this is a 3mm bicone. You can use 4. It won't affect anything. It's just what I had out today, and I have a lot of them. You'll see, I got this big container full of them. So let's use them up. I just thought that size looked good with the leaves, that's all. Okay, so just like the other 2 versions, we make a little loop right there, and the bead seems to be getting away from me. And I'm using my fingernail for the position of my loop. First one's always easier because you don't have to compare sizes. And okay, so I want it there, and now I want to do a nice gentle curve coming around the back of this wire, like that. So it looks like that. I'm leaning towards the left hand side again, and now I want to do 1 complete wrap underneath just to lock that in place, and it actually holds the beads in place as well. And if it's too loose on you, you can always cinch it up like this. Okay. And I notice that loop is crooked. I'll fix it later on because it might bend again. So now I'm pushing this bottom wire like that. Wow, what a matchup. Isn't that perfect? Those 2 are the exact same length. I wonder if that'll happen again. Okay, so now we're doing a counterclockwise loop at the base of the heart. nice and tiny. Okay, and then this is what is the hardest part of this design, is now we're going to make a nice large loop. Now the hardest part is matching up the earrings so that they're the same size. And one thing I really want you to be cautious of is kinking up the wire. So we have to be very gentle with it, very using tension and pressure to bend it. And we want to try and make it a circle. If we can't, but that's what we're aiming for. If the wires cross over, that's fine. That's just a design element, and sometimes that makes it more beautiful. And the smaller the circle, the stronger the circle. So we don't want to make it too big, but we don't want to make it too small either, because this is a design element. So it's got kind of a swirl effect here, and which is nice. And we want to finish off at that angle, just like with the other, the last design number 2, when we had just the little, basically it's the same thing, except for we got a bigger circle here. And it's not as forgiving. You can really tell when it's not as nice. So this is definitely a more challenging design. So I am going, no, before I forget, I'm putting the drops on now, because we want to put the drops on before we do the next phase. Because if you forget to do the drops, then you have to remake your drops and have them wrapped around. And you don't want to do that. That's too much work. So in order, what happens when you put on a drop and it's got a swirl like that, it goes upside down. So you want to start with the leaf upside down. Or if you're doing just beads, you wrap upside down. Every drop has a front and a back. And see, it flips around. And I did the wrong one. I want a small one first. I started with the big one. We want to go small, big, small. Okay, so I'm going to make sure I have 2 smalls and 1 big. And we're going to start upside down. And see, and it flips over. And now the big leaf upside down. And the little leaf. Oh, that's pretty. I like that. See, the pearls make them sit. I don't know if you can see that from up above there, but they're sitting at a triangle. And then when you go flat like this, it separates them too, but it's got a really cool look to it. And I wish I could show you. It's so hard on camera to show you. It's very cool. I like it. Okay, now we're going to grab set this aside, and we're going to grab the next earring. And make sure I have my 11.5 inch length and not my 14.5. Bend it, where'd my ruler go? At 4.5 inches. And again, we're doing our favorite size of loop, but we're doing the backwards loop in order to do the mirroring. Okay, so we're going to the right hand side, which feels so awkward. Okay, and I'm going to flip it around. And 3 wraps. That's 1, 2, 3. Fighting with the table. And I'm just going to straighten out this one isn't as neat as the last one. Just straightening things out a little bit. Okay, now I'm ready to do my springboard loop. And we want it to be the same size or very similar. And I think that's pretty close. Yeah, it's pretty close. If it was too big, I would just pull tighter, and if it was too small, I would just push back to loosen it up. Okay, so now to put the bicone on. And the heart bead, or whichever bead you're using. Okay, and then we want the loop to be in a similar spot and similar size. So it's about right here. Oh, did I go the wrong direction? I did. Let's see if I can fix it. If I can't, guess what? I have to start all over again. But I think I can fix it. Broke my thumbnail doing that. Now it's going too low, so what I'm doing to fix that up is I'm going to take my chain nose pliers and I'm going to force gently, I'm grabbing it gently, curving it up. Can you see me doing that? And I didn't mar the wire. Not that I can see anyways. If it is, it's very minor. And is it the same size? It's a little bit bigger, so I'm just going to pull it a little bit tighter. There we go. Is it in the same position? I think it is. Looks pretty good. Wow, I can't believe I was able to fix that. I caught it just in time. So now, gentle curve. You want a similar curve, I think it is. And one full wrap around that base wire. And I'm a little bit loose, so I'm going to push it up. I think we're good there. Okay, now I'm going to push this wire this way. Hopefully I'm still in focus. And my board keeps sliding. So now we're doing a counterclockwise loop. And I'm going to go upside down so that I can go clockwise. But I have to make sure that I'm at the front. So maybe going to the back isn't such a good idea. I'm just so right-handed. It sometimes gets in my way. Okay, so now the hard part. Trying to make that loop the same size. So we'll be doing a lot of comparing. Okay, I'm going to put this upside down. Okay, so I've got to go quite a bit smaller. So hard to do right side up. I haven't made these earrings in so long that I'm really out of practice. Let's see, how does that look? And that's not bad. I lucked out. So this can be very challenging, guys. And sometimes you end up doing the second earring over more than once. And I tend to charge a fair bit for these earrings because they are very finicky to make. But they are beautiful. My original name for these, I'm for this purpose, because I'm doing version 1, version 2, version 3. This particular design, I called it my peacock earrings, because not sure why they reminded me of a peacock, but they did at the time when I created this design. Okay, so now this is how I usually do the snipping. But before I forget, got to put my drops on. Almost forgot. Don't want to do that. Okay, we got 2 small, 1 large. Okay. So I'm going to put this on upside down. There. Okay. Oh, I like them. They're pretty. Okay. I need to learn how to make the peacock leaves in order. There's a leaf polymer clay design out there called peacock leaves. And basically all it is it's a cane, and it's got the circle in there. And then it would be very fitting for this, wouldn't it? Because of the peacock design. But I like these too. Yes, these are daintier and not as clumsy looking. Okay, so the next step is you're holding, instead of measuring, I'm going to get you to do what I do. You might want to measure. Sorry. We're going to cut all wires at the same time, or I am. You don't have to. I'm just showing you something I do. And I guess to be about 1 centimeter long from the edge of the heart there. And it's about right there. And I just cut all 4 at once. And then I double check and make sure that they are in fact the same length, because I can always snip. See, they moved on me. These ones are a little bit longer, so I'm going to cut these ones off just about 1.5 millimeters. Because when you use the ruler, you end up having to do that too. So it just makes it faster. Okay. And I wonder if this circle changed on me, because it looks different all of a sudden. I might end up having to trim it again. I think it did. So I'm just doing an adjustment and a remeasure. It's always good to double check. Okay, so now those ones are a little bit long, and that top one, not much though. Okay, I think we're set. We're set. Okay, so now it's just like the last pair of earrings where we do the loops on the end. So we just spread them apart a little bit, but I'm supporting the circle because we don't want to distort it. And doing that loop at the end. See, I'm still supporting that circle, because that is so easy to ruin your circle by doing this. And so I just bend it so it's just touching over top of that circle. And again, now I'm flipping it upside down because I'm right-handed to do the top one. But I'm, again, supporting the circle because I don't want to distort it. And I'm tucking in the end because it was sitting up. And you want to make sure there's no pokies, and there isn't. And that one's done. Except for I need to straighten out that loop, and I'm going to hold the design down while I do that. I don't want anything to get ruined. And that one's done, ready for ear wires. And it does look like a peacock. It really does. To me. Am I wrong? Okay, now same thing for this. So I'm going to start with the top of the bottom one, getting the drops out of my way. Well, let's split them apart so we know what's what. Okay. I'm going to start with the bottom one. I'm supporting my circle so we don't ruin it. I should maybe move this out. I don't know how blurry you are. I have the camera a little higher trying to be out of my way. But have it zoomed in. So I've got seriously 4 inches here, maybe not even 4 inches, and I think it was like 6.5 inches wide. So it's a very small area to work in. Okay, so now I'm going to do the top one. Again, supporting my circle. And I'm actually coming at an angle because I didn't want to scratch my heart. But now I'm just going to straighten it out there. And then let's compare the two. Now this one, I made the circle, the loops bigger. And therefore, it was closer. So I'm just going to open these up and see if I can make them a little bit bigger. To get a more similar look. So I'm just opening it up here, and then I grab it from over here and curve it, and it makes it a bit bigger. And that's about as good as I can get. Let's see how do they look. Now this one needs to come down a little bit. And this one as well. Let's see how that is. Earrings are so finicky because you're trying to do the mirroring. That's more challenging. There's a lot of people don't like doing earrings just for that reason, so they only do necklaces. Okay, there it is. Ready for the ear wires. And then once we have the ear wires on, we do our checks to make sure everything's sitting straight. See how it's sitting wonky? We have to fix that. And that's because the top loop isn't sitting properly. I already fixed the other one. So I just need to, and I was supporting the design work while I was doing that. There we go. Now it's sitting properly, and I'm going to, this is sitting out a little bit. I'm going to make sure that your drops are sitting flat and push it down. And sometimes it cooperates, sometimes it doesn't, but you got to be gentle, because sometimes you can do more harm than good. There we go. And the more these are worn, the stronger they get. But they are artwork earrings for sure. So they do have some fragility to them. And they have to be worn with care. And there they are, completely done. Whoops. Okay, completely done. And now it's time for the necklace. So if you weren't planning on doing the necklace, then I guess we would say goodbye for now. Okay, and we need this. The flowers are on the right hand side, so therefore we can do the regular wrapping for the bail. And so now you need your 14.5 inch piece of 28 gauge wire, which is 36.25 centimeters, and we want to bend it at 4.5 inches, which is 11.25 centimeters. Okay. So to make a bail, you're going to take approximately the biggest part of your pliers, and I don't go to the biggest part exactly because it makes it really hard to wrap. But you could try, or use your bail maker, you know, depending how big you want. And it's going to hit the camera. And you want to make 2 loops. So I've gone once, or almost once around. I'm laddering up my pliers. And now I've got the 1 loop like we would for a normal wrap. Okay, and now I'm going up as far as I can go, taking out my pliers, putting them back in, and going around the second time, laddering up my pliers again, and finishing off like so. And it's got that right angle. Okay, and remember, when you were wrapping, the short end is here. We weren't wrapping with the short end, and that's where the beads go, and the long end is what made the bail. It's also going to be doing all the decorative work. Excuse me. Okay, so, oh, we need to do our 3 wraps. So I have to put my pliers all the way back in and do my 3 wraps. And I hit the phone with the wire. I'm hitting everything with the wire. 2, 3. It probably wasn't in the picture frame because I was hitting everything with the wires. Now, I'm going to straighten out the wraps if they need straightening. They're not bad. Probably don't really need to. Yeah, probably don't really need to. Okay, and now I'm also going to fix my bail a little bit. It was a little bit, one ring was bigger than the other. So when I flip back and forth, it fixes it. And then I'm doing my springboard wrap, and the bail seems a little bit in my way to do that. So what I'm going to do is move my bail to the back a little bit. And I have to see, I bent that. Easy to fix. Just by going like this again. Okay. And it almost seems like it went the opposite way. Okay, let's try that again. Okay, so what I was aiming for was to give myself more room under here. So I moved the rings back a little bit. They don't want to cooperate, so it'll just have to go forward with the loop. And we don't have to match anything. It can be bigger than the earrings. Okay, so I went bigger just to be more forgiving because the bail kept getting in my way. And I'm just not happy with the bail, so I'm just fixing it again. There, ready to put the beads on. So we want the bicone. And the heart. Is it going to cooperate? It's going to cooperate. Awesome. Okay, so now we're going to make that double loop here, just like we did in the other video. 2 videos, actually, right? We did it in both ones. Okay, so smaller one. And now the echoing one. And I'm keeping my thumb there to protect what we've done. And I'm moving my thumb around. And that looks good. Okay. And now I'm curving this with tension and pulling. So I'm kind of like pushing and pulling, pushing down this way and pulling this way, if that makes sense. Okay, so that it's got that pretty gentle curve. And now I'm supporting this wire as I wrap around that base wire. 1 complete wrap, just like we did with the earrings. Now I'm pushing this wire this way. And now we're going to do a little clockwise springboard kind of wrap, loop. Okay, and now we don't have to match up to the earrings. So the only thing we have to worry about here is making it nice, smooth and neat. This wire's just about used up. I guess I made that loop a little bit big, hey? Well, it's big enough though, because we're still going to have to cut some off. Now, that's not quite a proper circle, so I'm just cinching it up a little bit. I want it to be compacted. Now it's time to put the last drops on. So we want to go upside down, small, big, and small. We've got to make sure it's upside down, and it is. There, and now we're ready to trim this. You can go a centimeter and it'll be tucked in more. Because it's a necklace, that's probably the smart thing to do. Although with a bigger heart you could go a little bit longer, but I would recommend still doing a centimeter. And I'm going to guesstimate right there. Wow, that wasn't much waste, was it? Okay, and holding on to this circle while I make the loop. Oh, don't fall off. Okay, there's one loop done. And the top loop is smaller, and that's okay. See, it's a little bit more in the center, which is safer for the necklace, because this is more fragile. And so what I sometimes do, you can use a rawhide mallet for this, but you can also use the handle of your pliers just to tap it, and it just work hardens it a little bit. But we're tapping softly, we're just putting energy into it. That's how you work harden, is by putting energy into the wire, and it work hardens it. That's why even when you're wearing it, it does work harden. But we're also flattening it a little bit too, because it's more vulnerable as a necklace. I prefer the earrings over the necklace just because of the vulnerability, but people insist that they want these as necklaces, so I do sell them as necklaces. Straighten out my bail. There, it's done. Ready for some chain. And that's what it looks like. So when it's laying against you, it'll probably go like so. So, because it doesn't have that hanging ability of an earring, so it'll either the big leaf will be in the back or it'll be in the front, but it still looks pretty. No matter what it does, it looks pretty. There you go. Okay, all done. Well, thank you for joining me in this video. God bless. Check out my beads for sale. There's not much up there right now, but hopefully I'll get them caught up. And takes time. If you want something and it's not there, don't be scared to ask, because I can always make things and get it up for you. And if you prefer to pay with Etsy instead of PayPal, just let me know, because I can always make an Etsy listing just for you. Okay, Thank you, and we will see you in the next one. Bye for now.